Hey, what's going on, guys? In today's video I'm going to tell you guys a quick little update about this cute little guy right here, as well as I'm going to go over some questions that I've been getting myself about how I got into reptiles, more specifically how I got into snakes. So stay tuned and I will tell you just that. My name is Nick Pulaski. Ever since I was young, I've had two passions, wildlife and filmmaking. My goal is to combine those two passions to make wildlife content. My passion for wildlife and my collection of exotic species is constantly growing. Come follow along as I pursue my goals of educating, inspiring, exploring, and conserving wildlife, all while having fun, seeing the beauty of our natural world. So take a look at this guy right here. Look how great he's looking. He has such great coloration to him and he's such a sweetie. I mean, he does get a little bit feisty at times. A lot of baby ball pythons will be like that, but once you kind of load them up and they have a whole bunch of meals in them after some time, and they'll just become these curious little creatures that he's becoming right now. He's currently trying to become a watch. So he currently still doesn't have a name, but I'm leaving that up to you guys. So let me know down in the comments, or if you also wanted to comment on an Instagram picture that I'm about to post for you guys as well too, let me know down there as well. But yeah, this is my banana leopard pied ball python, as you guys know, and this is the one that I picked up at NARBC in October, and look at him go. He's just kind of chilling right there. But yeah, ball pythons, like I said, I mean, he's kind of timid right now, but ball pythons in general are rather relaxed creatures. That's why they're so popular in the pet trade, and he's just being a curious little dude. But yeah, he is eating great for me on frozen thawed rodents. He's gone through 3 perfect sheds already, and I mean, he's definitely putting on some size, and I just love the balance of white to coloration on this guy. Looks really cool on him. He's got a perfect amount. He's probably close to about like 75% white to pattern, but I think honestly like this nice little stretch down the middle is perfect. Such a cool snake, and I'm so happy to have him with me. And to kind of sum things up, that's kind of the gist of him. I mean, everything's going really well for him. And if you also saw in that video where I picked this guy up, you also saw that I picked up another baby, which was that Woma python. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to update you on her in this video, but I'm going to do a video on Woma pythons themselves. So yeah, just stay tuned for that video to come in the coming weeks. But as of right now, we'll just update you on this guy, and he's just an absolutely great snake. But also on the line of snakes and reptiles in general, we're also going to be talking about questions that I've been getting from people saying, how did you get into reptiles and how did you necessarily get into snakes? And truthfully, it's kind of like a jumbled question because I don't really recall the first encounter that I had with a snake. Could have been at like the Cleveland Zoo or something like that when I was really young, and more than likely was. And basically the first memory that I can recall about interacting with a snake in the wild was actually probably about when I was like 5 or 6, and I was actually in the woods in my hometown, and what was basically going on was I actually saw this garter snake moving in the woods. Very long garter snake. It was probably about like 3.5, 4 foot long. But yeah, I remember following this snake, and then I remember picking it up. Garter snake as a species is a very docile snake. So like when I picked it up, I mean, yeah, it was definitely moving around and everything like that, but like it was rather calm after a while, and I never got bit or anything like that. So it was just a really cool experience, regardless of like if I got bit or not. It was just a really cool experience to have, just like, and like he's doing right now, just kind of feeling like they're all muscles. So just kind of feeling this animal moving through your hands and stuff like that and interacting with you. That was something that was really cool with me. And like I said, growing up too, I had the luxury of growing up near woods and parks and all these natural places where I basically had the opportunity to see what different species of snakes were like, which was really cool because I got to see like garter snakes, rat snakes, a whole bunch of different amphibian species. There was just a whole bunch of wildlife by me that I could get hands-on with and just kind of explore, as well as learning from like different books growing up, as well as like wildlife documentaries and like people like Steve Irwin, David Attenborough, Jeff Corwin even. There's a whole bunch of things growing up that like I was exposed to. So I soaked this all in as like a child and like grew up with it all, and then like I started getting snakes and raising them myself. Like I had a corn snake growing up, and then I started getting into ball pythons. Then as I was researching more and more with ball pythons, I started getting into morphs and like learning how to breed. And after a year and a half of like learning how to do that and everything like that, and talking and learning with people and like going to reptile shows and knowing that those were a thing, it just kind of skyrocketed from there. Because when I got to those shows, I got to get more hands-on experience with like captive bred animals that were like different species that I've never even heard of, or species that I've only seen in like the documentaries or like at the zoo, and realizing I could do some real cool stuff, not only interacting with them and like learning about the species and getting hands-on with them myself, and basically I just wanted to pass that on to other people too and have them get that hands-on experience and stuff like that. So that's also what partly fueled my passion for this, was passing it on to other people. But like I never necessarily had like a fear of snakes growing up or anything like that. I think it's just because of like the upbringing I had where like I was exposed to it my whole life. So like it desensitized me at a young age. But then like growing up, I was like confused when like people were like, I'm afraid of snakes, snakes are slimy, everything like that. It was never the case, and like it was just a big old misunderstanding. And then I was like seeing like other people that were like doing these reptile educational programs and being exposed to that even at a young age. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I kind of want to do stuff with that. So that's what I've been doing with these guys. So it's really not only impactful and important to me, but like important to like people in general. So like the education aspect of things and like getting into all this information, that's what like fueled me for like getting into reptiles, and more specifically like snakes. And besides like their colorations and their patterns like this guy here, as well as like their behaviors and how they interact with like their environment, those things are all great and everything like that, but like the education side of things and just gaining exposure to other people that weren't that fortunate growing up to like having that luxury of, because not everyone had that luxury of growing up around wildlife at a young age. That's what inspires me also to do what I do, whether it's with snakes or with geckos, anything like reptile related. That's what I'm trying to do. Then I started seeing people doing it online with like YouTube channels and everything like that, and I was like, oh, I wanted to get in on this too, not just because of the animal side of things, but like I also had like a passion growing up for film. So it was like the best of both worlds. What are you doing, buddy? And like I said earlier, he's a little timid when you first take him out, and he's like curious, and then he just like turns off that timid mode and he's just in full active curious mode. But to kind of summarize the question, there wasn't per se like a true event that kind of inspired me to get into reptiles, but more so like a culmination of all those things that I described to you that really inspired me to like push the envelope and keep learning more, which I think is absolutely important. And also a key thing too is like even when you think you know about a certain thing, there's always more to learn, and everything is constantly updating with research and everything like that. So constantly learning and constantly exposing yourself and like growing, that's key. And that can be said for anything. So that kind of ends my TED Talk. So yeah, I would say all those things together, that's how I got exposed to snakes. And I'm very thankful and fortunate to be working with all the cool species that I have now, as well as have all the friends that I have that work with a whole bunch of other different species that I've been able to learn about. But basically that's the story. If you guys do have any other questions for me, you can always leave them down in the comments, or like you can always message me on my social media. I'll leave links down below. I'm always happy to answer any questions that I can. And even if it's something that I don't necessarily know, I can always see like what we can find out together, because obviously I want to learn it too. But regardless, I hope you guys liked this video. If you could do me a couple favors, if you could like this video and subscribe to my channel, I would greatly appreciate it, as well as hit the notification bell so you know when I upload. I'm going to be pumping out a whole bunch of different videos in the coming weeks. I'm so excited to share with you guys, so stay tuned for that. And also too, let me know down in the comments how you personally got into reptiles, as well as more specifically snakes. I'm curious about that, but regardless, reptiles in general. And again, thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and until next time, I will see you guys soon.